Hey, what's up, Xbox? Where you at?
Hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
It's E3 Media Briefing Day, special episode of the Ramen Room being recorded here.
Yeah, special episode. Day
hot takes.
Ground zero.
Hey, that's how you do it. Yeah, it's day zero.
Yeah, it is, man. And we're going to talk about it, throughout the episode, but I was pleasantly... I was happy.
Yeah, it was a solid conference. I've seen some negativity online. It was a solid conference. I think they said we'll get into it, but they kind of offered a pretty wide variety of games. Mm-hmm. A few things that we both kind of commented on that we thought were interesting and we were interested in checking out. So we'll kind of get into what they showed. Mm-hmm. But I guess we'll start with sort of Scorpio, now known as Xbox One X. You had some feelings about the name.
Yeah, I did.
There. What do you?
I don't like that shit.
You know, like what's? I feel like it's probably because they want to match up with when people shorthand it, the 1S, 1X kind of thing, but.
It's too many X's. X.
It is. That's the thing, man. That's their direct X.
Hey, man, let me go ahead and get that game real quick on the Xbox One X.
Yeah.
Like, I got the S over here. Oh, no, it's the X. Oh.
Yeah, but that's what they're expecting.
What's that? Oh, it's this. It looks just like mine. Oh. What makes it different?
I feel like they're expecting people to just say the X, and I think, and again, I don't know.
I'm not gonna call it the X.
The 1X?
No, I'm not. I'm not gonna call it the 1X.
Honestly,
I'm gonna call it the X.
It's called Xbox, man.
I ain't calling it Malcolm X. Nobody's getting the X. No.
I feel like I'm ambivalent about the name. I feel like they did that because based on the pricing, I think they're trying to not avoid looking like a new console. Like if they go from Xbox to if they went with Scorpio or some other title for the console, people might think of it as new, which, it's new hard. The pricing thing confuses me, but I guess they want to make sure that you see it more as an extension of the Xbox One, kind of like Xbox, Elite or PS4 Pro versus a whole new.
That was some of their PR speak too. All about the Xbox One family, the Xbox family.
And part of it, they want to make sure that if you're a one owner, you don't get left behind. You don't feel.
But that's essentially what's happening. This is only here because they jacked up the Xbox One. They know it. Graphically, it was a powerhouse already, in my opinion. It wasn't the PS4, but it's not supposed to be.
Right.
The people don't know what the hell they want.
Right.
Everybody does not have a 4K TV, nor are they looking to get one.
See, that's what confuses me going into the pricing, because going into it, as you heard in the show last week, I said, I think an aggressive price about $350, which is a bit out there, more realistic of $399, that $400 price would be ideal. To move units. And, I've been talking to people online, arguing with people online, and I get the concept, the justification for it, because it is, as he said, a premium device, so they've kind of set the expectation. Mm-hmm. And based on the internal parts, I've seen prices kind of thrown around that to get a PC that does the same thing, you're looking at like $750, close to $800, something like that. So I get the justification for it, but because we're not in a vacuum and people don't use those justifications, the kind of person who wants to spend $500 for the Xbox One X and either already has a 4K TV and wants a 4K TV, who's discerning enough to say, I want true 4K, not the PS4 Pro 4K, to me is such a narrow market. I don't understand what they're expecting to do, because most people who want this thing already own an Xbox.
Yeah.
Maybe you have a home theater guy who really is big into visual fidelity, and he dabbles in gaming, and he's going to pick something up, and he's going to say, I want the best of the best. But to me, I would assume you would want, based on spending for the R&D and all the things you're doing and the way it was kind of presented, you would want to get as many people buying this thing as possible.
You might as well just call it, the Xbox One S gray. Because that's what I told a friend of mine earlier today. I'm like, look, man, I don't know. They have to make a compelling argument, period. They have to let me know.
Right.
You need to get this console because.
Right.
Now, I know there's not a console. This is a mid-generation.
Right. And I think that's where the
new
issue is kind of coming into. Because, you're right. That's the general sentiment has been, sell me on this console. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that they did that today. But based on the pricing, I don't know that that's what they intended to do.
They should. It's not about really selling you on a console. But at least show me what this can do that the other ones can't. For example, they should. I know it's different, but they should have had. Maybe they couldn't because of contract. But Battlefield. I know now we're in Battlefront season now, so that would be kind of hard.
Yeah.
But for example, if they could have Battlefield and they show what it looked like on Xbox One S,
right,
and then on the X. It'll show you that there's many other characters on screen and a whole bunch of shit happening all at one time, and you can see a clear difference.
And that's why I think where the other thing is, because I don't know that many games I don't know that the game design is changing because of the extra hardware as much as just how it looks.
I always felt like I always felt like game production will always be hindered by the amount of consoles that are in the market. So I mean that's why I hate it. I mean, think about it. You got to make a game for Xbox One, which has eSRAM and all that stupid ass configuration. Then you got to make it for PS4. Then you got to upscale it and all that for PS4 Pro, and then Xbox One X, and then you got the Nintendo Switch maybe. And then PC.
Right.
I mean that's 6.
I mean, you're right. Even with switching to the x86, it's still a lot of variables to have to take into account.
Right.
And, and again, I guess it kind of did remind me a bit of the PS4 Pro launch. And maybe that's, even though they're technically, some people are saying they're not competitors, they essentially are. Maybe that's what Microsoft was looking at it like. Because if I remember correctly, Sony said, like, out of 5 PS4s sold, 1 is a PS4 Pro. So it's just kind of an extra, some cherry on top of whatever it is they're doing. So they don't really care about moving that many units. But much like with the PS4 Pro, especially streaming it, it's hard to see 4K. When I don't have a 4K TV and I'm not bringing in a 4K stream, when I'm watching this thing on YouTube. So like I said, I could see some difference in the games and just they look a little better. But as far as like selling me on it, at $4.99, it did more. Honestly, to me, the price did more to unsell me on it because I was interested in it. I don't have a 4K TV, but it does improve your 1080p display as well. But at $4.99, it's kind of like not really worth the effort. Like I'll see what happens, but it's not really anything that
it's interesting. I mean, I don't know if they're going to follow the Apple, model of iPhone 6, iPhone 6s.
Yeah,
if you're going to follow that model, I believe your pricing should reflect that of that particular model. So, for instance, when you go out and get an Xbox, I spent $500 on Xbox One.
Right.
Day one, camera included, failed.
Right.
They just revealed the pricing right now for $249. That's half off of what I paid.
Right.
Loyal customer. I'm a really excited guy. Okay, what's the incentive for me getting this? If I still have my Xbox One, camera included, is there a way I can send this back to you and maybe get a discount on the $500 that you want to spend on a mid-generation upgrade?
I think GameStop's having a trade-in promotion. Like I know they have. I think they had one for like the.
That would make sense for game. That would make sense for GameStop.
And a lot of it's going to come to I don't know if Microsoft can put pressure on or convince retailers to offer that. Retailers in their own interest might be just to generate more purchasing, I guess, but. You're right. It's kind of looking at that situation. It's
this is too much hardware. I mean, I miss the old days where you used to have a console for 10 years. Yeah. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Right. Okay, I mean, yes, things around you change. I mean, but the gaming space shouldn't.
Most console generations are usually about in that kind of that 5 to 10 year window. We went kind of long with the 360 and PS3, but kind of going back to your Apple.
But PS2 wasn't no 5 year.
Between the PS2 and the PS2 was what 2002 wasn't it?
99
or was it 99?
Or was it 2000?
Yeah, I thought it was. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, and then 360.
I know Dreamcast came out. Okay, Dreamcast came out in 99, 98 in Japan. Yeah. Somewhere over there. And they came out, I want to say about a year later. So probably about 2000 to 2006. That's 6 years. You looking it up?
Yeah, I'll check that.
So that's about 6 years.
It said October 26, 2000 in North America. So November, it was 2000 was the year basically. Yeah. And then we went to about 2005, 2006 to the next generation. But even going back to your thing with Apple, the difference between doing that in Apple with Apple mobile consumers and really all of us being mobile consumers are used to that phone cycle for one. And two, there's an instant demand and sort of cachet that Apple has when they put out a new phone. People will just buy it regardless. I mean, they right. Apple doesn't really need to convince people that much to get a phone. I mean, you get. At all. There's Samsung people out there who are just. Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, it kind of sells itself. You're right. And like,
that's true.
So I think it's hard, particularly Microsoft's position in the market right now.
Yeah, they're sitting at like 30 million, right?
Well, I mean, and again, Microsoft, they don't have to beat Sony to make money, but with the issue of, people feeling there's not enough games, not enough exclusives, with the other added problems going in, I don't know that Microsoft has that ability to just say, well, here's something new, go pick it up. They have to hurt people's business, which goes back to the rationale that, well, it's more of a niche product, but I feel like they did a lot for if a product they're not expecting to move a ton of units on.
So you had talked earlier before we got on air. 450 would have been the sweet spot for you.
Ideally for me, that would have been the sweet spot. But knowing that it is a pricey thing, I mean, aggressively $399 would have been the best bet because I think you would have flipped a lot of. I think you would have flipped a lot of Xbox One owners, and you would have brought in some people who already have PS4 and have been curious. Because the other issue is if you have another console or your PC and you're curious, and then you're like, well, do I really want to spend $500 for the Xbox? Or do I want to get the Xbox One S, and it's still kind of inferior to what I have now?
What happens with that? I mean, what happens with the S line then? I mean, because this thing is about $500 and it's smaller.
Well, I mean, the S, it looks like S. They want it to be. Well, it looks like they want the S to be your run of the mill. Like when you ask for an Xbox for Christmas, that's what your parents pick up for you. That's what when you're just getting an Xbox, you're getting the S. But if you, I guess, want to splurge,
if you want the Big Daddy, then you get the X.
Yeah.
I mean, it just goes back to the games. I will say this. I mean, in positive wise, right? It's a wonderful, it's a beautiful console.
It looks very nice. Yeah, it looks
and play it out.
I don't think you could ever say that.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, of course. I mean, well, I could have said it about the Xbox. That thing was like the OG,
the Xbox One. He's on the Xbox.
Though it wasn't. You can't say that.
Hey, I have to. People were saying it about my controller every day. I bring my Xbox over, like, hey, I got my Xbox. Got this big old X in your head.
Hey, I need so uncomfortable. I need 2 people to help me carry this in.
so uncomfortable. Hey, you watch a DVD? I ain't got that. I ain't got the piece.
But you're not wrong though, because when the Xbox first came out, when they had the on display at like Circuit City, I think they had the Duke controller out there, and that turned me off from it. I didn't want to use this giant controller.
No.
Like that when they switched to when they went to the S controller, that was so much better. Was it?
Why is the analog?
That's the thing that kind of sold me on Xbox was the controller.
Yeah,
the second generation.
Okay.
Yeah. No,
I mean, the Xbox 360 controller was dope.
Yeah,
and it was weighty. I mean, I liked it. I mean, it had a good feel. I mean, my favorite hands down always be Dreamcast, but they listen. So that goes to show that Microsoft listens to their core,
right?
Because they ain't like Sony out here who's. And listen, Sony don't give a damn what you say. Well, actually, they listen to that price point. They ain't jump out saying that's the biggest $600.
They learned that lesson, and that's kind of before I do want to get to the positives, but that is another concern is that Sony goes to E3 tomorrow and they say, hey, PS4 Pro doesn't do it's not as powerful as the Xbox One S, but it's also like $100 cheaper.
It doesn't have to be. They already scratched that ceiling. I mean, like when they came out with the PS4, and they was like, yo, PS4 not Pro,
right?
It's got 8 gigabytes to GDDR5, which is automatically, even if you don't know anything about like electronics, 5 sounds better than 3, like flat out. Right. You know what I mean? Right. So it's already and it's cheaper. So it's a more powerful console, cheaper. They scratched that most powerful itch. They scratched it. So to make something more powerful than that, more expensive than theirs. What does it do?
Yeah, right. It just, to me, it doesn't convince. It does. I don't know. It doesn't.
What does it do? The market is, in my opinion, if they continue to go down this route, it's escaping their fan base. The people who make these companies money. If you always want to hurry up and consistently come up with the most powerful this and that, and not focus on the usability, replayability of games, and just genuine. Community. If you don't focus on that, then people ain't gonna buy your shit. You're
right. You're right.
I'm not interested I don't have the Xbox One S, man. I'm definitely get the X. It's $500. I'm gonna get it though, man. I'm an Xbox diehard.
I'm a premium guy.
I'm a premium guy.
Like, okay,
but the positives. Though.
Yeah, I was gonna say do the positives. I liked a lot of the games they showed. During there were a lot of things that we both thought were pretty interesting.
Like I said, they had PR speech though. It was. They didn't give a damn what they said. Exclusive. I think had my boy Twan over here. He's like, "Yo, man, is that Is it just on Xbox? No, it's a time exclusive.
Yeah. Oh. I mean, it's, but I mean that's sort of the position they're in. When you have fewer units than your opponent, it's going to be harder to secure third-party exclusives, and they don't have the first-party stable that Sony does. But one thing we like, Dragon Ball Z Fighter or Dragon Ball Fighter Z.
I hope they come out this way, but it look good.
It does look good. I'm excited. Like we kind of talked about it. It's been a while since the Budokai series, because even Budokai Tenkaichi was more of that full 3D plane. Yeah. And while it's fun, I mean, while Xenoverse has been fun and being able to fly and everything, I think that straight up fighting, which is the action of Dragon Ball Z, I think it's going to depend if they have a sizable roster. What they do. Put two of those type of games out at the same time. Right, exactly, because they do cover two different things, and like you said, it's
they kind of did back in the day. I mean, like because they had Budokai 3, and then like a year later, they had I think timing is going to be a big issue with that, because the Dragon Ball Z game coming out for the Switch is coming out in October, so that'd be jacked up for that game to be now a year old on the PS4 and Xbox One.
Yeah,
to now come out to the Switch, but then on the same day, then you have this new game by Arc Studio.
But I think it does it can work in the sense that it does, like I said, it does cover two different bases, because Dragon Ball Xenoverse is more of an open world exploration game. This is more of your sitting down, get your buddies, straight up. Like you said, have a good pedigree for developer, because they're the ones that do like BlazBlue, right? Yeah. I mean, maybe we'll see DBZ develop a fighting game community following, like get into Evo situations. If that would be
that's why it looks so appealing, because it's like that's Dragon Ball Z. I feel like if it goes that route,
man. And just the art style we were talking about looked really really lush. Another one that kind of stood out to us, Black Desert, the MMO.
Yeah,
looked like a hack and slash MMO, which is something I've always kind of been interested in. Mm-hmm. So a lot of it's going to depend on the depth of the game and what they have to offer for you and how the connection works. But as far as the actual gameplay, it looks a lot of fun. It looks.
Mm-hmm. That looks. Heck yeah. The Cuphead got a release date,
which finally people have been clamoring for that game, and I mean 29th. Shout out to those guys, because that's all hand drawn, and when Microsoft wanted them to do more, they went back to the drawing board and added more, and that's a lot of work. So I'm glad. I hope it pays off for them. Like I said, it's great style. It just looks fun, like especially if you like that style of game, that kind of gameplay. It's just a piece of history coming back too.
So it's them going back in history.
Exactly. You're right. You're exactly right.
It is appealing. It's like, wow. Yeah. The crossplay on Minecraft.
Oh yeah, that's actually really big. I mean, because Minecraft is as we were kind of talking when we were watching it is a phenomenon, and I mean, especially kids. Like I was in Barnes and Noble. There's books about Minecraft. People making stories about it's huge, and the ability to bring everybody together and have your own custom servers.
That's the start.
Yeah, it's.
I was about to say that's the beautiful part of it.
Yeah. Right. Because I wouldn't mind. Yeah. I like to see it in Overwatch or any other fighting game. I mean, Injustice mainly.
Yeah,
any game could do it, but this
right.
I want to see how
it helps that with Microsoft owning Mojang and Microsoft IP, they can obviously they know not to kill the golden goose, and they're going to keep selling it on all platforms. So it's in their interest to bring everyone together. So it's going to come down to developer to developer. But like you said, I hope we see that more, especially in games where it can be hard in a first-person shooter bringing PC over to the console space, because mouse and keyboard has such an advantage. But like fighting games or games like Minecraft, things where that is negated just because of the way the game plays, I think would be really interesting to see more of that kind of coming along.
I still think there's a lot of money in it, just because of the wars that can happen. Because of
Well, I thought about it too, like when Minecraft was on the Switch. I mean, since they own Mojang and all that,
right,
they had to pay Microsoft to put that on their console,
right?
In which they did.
Yeah.
So for them to do that, I mean, there may have been a clause like, "Yo, we may call upon you to have cross-platform, cross-play,
right.
and they did it because they know it to be something that is good for their individual market,
right?
And not to mention nobody feels left out. I think it's wonderful. We'll see. I think we'll see more of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Where we'll see it. Hopefully, we kind of wanted to see it in Final Fantasy 14. But
yeah, I'm surprised that still has. I mean, and I'm sure maybe Black Desert's to try to cover that itch. But I'm surprised if they still haven't got that to work. The whatever agreements they need to get 14 to get on.
Yeah.
And when I want accord there. Another we were kind of looking at Sea of Thieves was a big game going into the show. I think it did a good showing. Like I said, I can see based on what was presented, there's a lot of potential there. A lot of it's gonna be what you make of the game and how you play it.
Mm-hmm.
But being able to do the ship battles and just kind of the humor in the game and the charm of the game, there's a lot there. I can see it's something that you log on with your friends and say, hey, let's hop on Sea of Thieves, go do something. A lot of it's going to be dependent on how the community develops and the kind of things, and what really when we learn more, what you're able to do in the game and what tools. Like, are there bounties? Are there, is it because you mentioned you can go to ports to sell your wares, so you could have maybe a whole group of people who just sit around in the oceans waiting for somebody to come by and rob them, like actual pirates. Like it's gonna be interesting to see how that develops. How the in-game economy develops. The kind of things that kind of come out of that series.
But it didn't speak to me.
Like I said, a lot of it, from what I've said, from what I heard last year when they showed it, a lot of it is in the playing of it, and it's something knowing the people I hang out with online. Sometimes I could see us doing it. But it's nothing that I'm not like I'm super excited for it at the moment. I just need more information.
I need to see, because I was watching. I was like, I don't know what they're doing. I mean, they're getting shot out of cannons.
I don't see how it fits in the gaming world right now.
It
does have a. I like the word charm. It does have a charm to it. Though.
Yeah. Oh, of course. I mean, even like the art direction. I mean, in some areas, like the water. We were talking about the water. I was like, man, them waves look sweet.
Yeah, that was gorgeous. Yeah. Like I said, a lot of it depends on what options they have for you to do there beyond even what they showed. Like it has to be robust enough that when you have a lot of things you can do. Like I said, it sounded like when you go to get treasure, I may have misunderstood, but it sounded almost like you might run into, like, if another player died there, you run into like a skeleton or representing that player, which is kind of cool. Again, I could be misunderstanding that. But yeah, it's just like I said, a lot depends on what you're able to do. We still don't know a ton yet. We know a little bit more, but still not a ton. It's still early in development, from what I understand. They're still doing technical alpha tests, so there's a lot. Right. That's what we call.
What's another one? What's that one that we said was Ghost in the Shell?
Oh, The Last Night. Yeah, that one looks good. It's kind of like a 2D like pixely, but it looks like it could have a banging story. Like it could be.
That's the only one that I was like, man, that story is
Yeah,
awesome.
no, it really looks like it. Like it looks like.
I mean, it had Back to the Future a little feel.
It had
Blade Runner,
it's kind of like a future noir sort of.
Ghost in the Shell. And the art direction, the art looked good. And that goes to show that everything. I mean, I don't need a 4K TV,
right?
High end.
Well,
play that.
It's like people were complaining that, like, oh, there weren't enough AAA games, which I understand to a degree. But I mean, that game to me looks. It doesn't need to be AAA to look interesting.
Good.
Yeah, and that game.
A lot of games need to just look good, have good stories,
right? Have good direction to them, like that.
We
were all excited about that.
That's not your quote unquote, AAA title. People, the term AAA has just been distorted over time. I mean, it costs a lot of money to make these so-called AAA games, and you don't always need them. I mean, they're great. They help motivate the market. But this is games.
I would love a return to that AA, because even looking at like what was the game? I think it was Code Vein, like the Namco band. Namco Bandai game
with the vampires and all that.
Yeah, because it had that. It looked good, but it had that sort of mid-tier Japanese, somewhat janky lookingness to the game, where you're like, it's not exactly polished, but I don't need it to be. I don't need every game to be, The Last of Us in visual fidelity.
Sometimes it's just the mechanics.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just the art direction that they want to go in, and it sticks. It's cool to me.
Even if it's not the most polished. If it plays well, that's interesting. If it has, everything else I'm looking for, then it's fine. I don't need everything to be a $90 million game.
No,
partnered with Mountain Dew or whatever. Like it's
that's the Xbox coming out. Right. I remember the days. Mountain Dew, partnered with Mountain Dew and Doritos. I mean, you don't. Sorry, Xbox, but that's that.
It is, man.
What about Metro?
Metro. I played a little bit of Metro last night at Metro 2033. Metro Exodus. We kind of talked about. It's really highly rated single player game. People who like it really seem to like it. It looked interesting. I don't know, you guys. You didn't play the first one.
I'm not playing that, but that was a beautiful game.
Yeah, it definitely looked really good.
I watched somebody play it. I was literally watching somebody play it.
Yeah, like the first games are pretty atmospheric, sort of spooky. So I'm curious to see with it being, because you're in the first games you're inside of a vault that's kind of built out of like a subway system, so it's more claustrophobic for the most part. So I'm curious opening up how it'll play, if it will play totally differently. But like you said, for Numasan, it didn't speak to you. But there, it seemed that there's a following. So I think it was a good game to show off for Xbox, and it looked like a good game.
I don't know. I just like the mutated animals versus zombies. That's just how I feel.
Yeah, because we were talking about that off air.
That's what they could have easily put in place.
Right.
Easily fit in there and just throw it into the story.
Right.
It makes sense. Because everybody's
Right, and I'm sure they'll have some humanoid villains. I'm trying to remember from the first game what they had, because they had something that was related to the people. But no, you're right. I think definitely a nice enemy design, and just interesting. The weapon looks pretty interesting as far as that crossbow, and being able to go get back your arrow. Right. Right.
That was sweet. He killed the dog thing, and then he took the arrow out and then put it back. That was I mean, as that survival tactic,
right? Because in the earlier games, they had you had to have a gas mask, and you have a certain amount of oxygen, and you could only keep it on for a certain amount of time. So it'll be interesting to see, how they'll work that in. Crackdown 3 made an appearance.
Wasn't too excited.
Yeah, I like Crackdown 2, I like Crackdown in addition. I didn't like Crackdown the number 2, but Crackdown 1 I thought was a really fun game.
I wonder if that's going to like mess up anything. Terry Crews doing that spot, but then he might be the voice in Overwatch for Doomfist.
I doubt that.
I just hope that. Maybe I'm worried about the wrong shit. Okay, so
I mean, it was fun. It was. I think the problem was we've been waiting on them to show it for a while, and what they showed was, it was Crackdown, but it wasn't. I'm surprised it was such a small segment. Like it's.
Remember last year when they were? Was it last year or the year before last when they were talking about it? And it was like, yes, with the power of the cloud, we have been able to produce some of the best high fidelity visuals you ever see in the gaming space. At Xbox, with our 300,000 servers, and with the power of the cloud, we have designed. I'm like, show me the fucking
right. Because even cloud aside, considering they touted the destruction, I wanted to see that in action. I'm surprised they showed. Maybe we'll see more at Gamescom, because it is coming out around the launch of the Xbox One X, so maybe we'll see more at Gamescom.
Yeah, day one, November 7th.
Yeah, or we'll see it throughout the rest of E3. But for
there's gonna be some Call of Duty on there and all that. You already know that.
Oh yeah, all that stuff. Yeah,
it's already coming.
But for the stage, I was surprised that it was kind of it was pretty short considering the kind of game it is, and it seemed like it was a big deal in the portfolio, but maybe it's not. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. I just wanted to mention that because that is a pretty popular PC game that's made its way to the console space, and I think it's a pretty good get for Xbox getting that on their console first. Just because I know the calling just went to Game Preview, which is a similar style game, just a smaller player base. I think it's 16 people, but 100 people like we kind of talking during the show. People like that sort of survival, emergent gameplay thing. You'll have with Rust and DayZ. So I feel like there's a good chance to find a good player base on Xbox. Was going to be performance and everything, and how that kind of plays out. But
how you feel about the Super Lucky Tail?
Like we were kind of talking about it. I mean, it's cute. It fills a void that doesn't really exist on Xbox, because right now if you have a kid and you want to play a game with them, it's a lot of the Lego games. There's not a ton. There's some other platformers, but it's not something I'd pick up. But
I feel like it's a void that's not being filled at all right now.
Yeah.
It's Mario.
Yeah, outside of Nintendo, there's a new Sonic release.
They tried it with Knack.
Knack. But even that, it's only one game. So there's room for it.
Crazy. You tried it with Knack. That is only one game. I had no intention of going anywhere else with that.
Ukulele just came out to pretty generally positive
Snake
reviews.
Pass.
So I think the market's available.
That's
so
indie.
Why not?
That's some of that stuff is like indie stuff.
It's why not throw it out there, see if it sticks. I doubt it'll do too much. I don't think we'll be talking about it. No, but hey.
But it looks like one of those games that don't take much to do in the first place.
Right. It's an option when you're getting your console for the family this year for Christmas, or if your kids are asking for it, they got some more ammunition, I guess.
Mm-hmm. State of Decay, how you feel about that?
I played a little bit of the first one, and it was a fun game. Like I said, we were kind of talking about zombies and everything, and that's nothing that really does much for me anymore. But it looks what it looks like it wants to do looks really interesting. Building a community. Because if I remember State of Decay, it was sort of like a mixture of that and sort of like a tower defense game almost, where you're kind of building up your defenses and building your fortress. And one thing that was really neat is that in the first game, when your protagonist died, they were gone for good. You had permadeath, so someone new came and took their place, and you played as somebody different. So we didn't see how well that plays out online. Because I think it's online. I'll have to double check to make sure, because everyone thought it was going to be online the last game, and it never really happened. But it looked good. It's not like a banner game for them. Maybe they wanted it to be, but it was fine. I mean,
it says zombie shit again.
Yeah, but hey, we're looking at what Days Gone on PS4, so it's gonna be a lot of comparisons between the two. Different styles of game. Days Gone looks more narrative focused. This is more about that style of gameplay. But I guess maybe zombies are making a comeback, man. Maybe strap in.
That's what.
Yeah.
Not more zombie. Where would you go to? I mean, they already ran that vampire shit into the ground.
Robots now, man. Gotta do robots. Right? Yeah, man. Come on, it's. Oh, Horizon Zero Dawn. Yeah. Okay. Just kind of to wrap up. Ashen was that game. The people without the faces looked interesting with playing with light a little bit. It's a lot of ability, or not a lot of, but the ability to I guess where they're fighting that giant guy thing. I still don't know narratively what they're doing with it, but that's kind of how that game sphere takes, like that game, The Artful Escape, the kind of indie sort of.
I like the way
experimental.
It looked. It had a magic to it that I think is going to resonate well with gamers once they see more of it,
right?
And once it gets on shelves and stuff like that. I think that's just me.
Yeah.
If I had an Xbox, I would get it. The question becomes, do I want to get an Xbox One X now? As I see it,
right?
Nah,
right. Real quick before we wrap up here, I was going to mention just I did notice that they have quite a few games that have the interaction with their streaming service Mixer, which I think is interesting because they want to try to get that adoption up like Twitch. And that was really popular, particularly a while ago, like that Twitch plays Pokemon or whatever. So having people being involved, it'll be interesting how many games take that approach and how that affects game development or game design kind of going forward. I didn't want to leave without hitting Anthem, that BioWare game that we saw the end. It looks good. Now a lot of it's going to be, are we going to run into a Destiny situation where there's not a lot to actually do, a lot of content, but it looked great.
I started crying.
It's
a hate-love relationship from my understanding. The way people talk about Destiny.
Yeah, and even from my time playing a little bit of it, because the mechanics were great for Destiny, but as far as the narrative wasn't there, and you had to grind to 20 to get to the raids, and there were a lot of things that some people didn't appreciate even as you went further into the game. So if BioWare, who's known for good narratives, if they can avoid that, because it looks like it's online, kind of like, you get your party up, you go do a couple missions. If they can either make the missions impactful or just you have a huge breadth of things to do, I think it'll be successful. Otherwise, I'm curious. I'm curious on where else they'll go with the game.
I'm gonna probably watch that trailer like 2 or 3 more times.
Because it looks just the scope. The scope was really good, like flying through. Diving into the water. It was. Yeah. It was funny. The action. It looked like the action. It looked like Mass Effect. Like if you remove the RPG elements and made a straight action game, like you can tell it's BioWare because it's a third person. Just the way it was
Mass Effect-y.
Yeah, it was, and it looked like, I think that's where EA was trying to take Mass Effect as far as, because even Andromeda looked like it a little bit, just more polished and, as far as the action goes. But I'm excited for it. I'm interested in it. It's just I really want to see what you can do, because what I don't want it to be is a game where I have to go out and just like collect things all day and grind. Yeah, right. Really? Yeah, no, I don't want to grind all the time.
I think the grind thing is taking over too.
Yeah, right, and there are people who do enjoy grinding. That's not me, but there are people who do enjoy that. But
I enjoy it, but there's a certain extent of grinding.
Right, and you have to have really good gameplay to make a grind worthwhile.
Well, I saw that. I see a couple of people upset at the fact that it appears to be like an online only game, and the the way it's designed. That's what I'm getting.
I don't even mind you have to be connected. I just if I want to be able to play alone, I want to have that option, right? If I'm just like, you know what, I got like 20 minutes, let me hop in, do a mission real quick, and get out. I don't want to have to like corral the people or try to have to put like a beacon out there, like, oh, I'm looking for a team, I need a group, whatever. Like, I don't need,
I don't want to do that. Yeah, so they should have it to where missions.
Well, I feel like if you pay your money and you pay for that damn game, you shouldn't have to get online.
Right. Now, maybe they have features that are that like I said, I hope not, but you're right. They didn't really go into it too specifically, and the fact is they had people with you the whole time, so it's not entirely sure.
But and it had those MMO qualities. You walk out, the dude's talking to you. I need you to go over here and check this out. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And it was funny because we made a comparison to it. Did we even talk about Assassin's Creed?
No, not yet.
Okay. We talked about how that thing, like that bazaar he was in.
Yeah.
look better than Assassin's Creed.
It did. I mean, it's still Ubisoft. Yeah, a year off, it's still Ubisoft. But I mean, it's
I mean, Assassin's Creed looked good too. But before we get into that, I think some games like that, I just don't see how the single player, offline. I don't know how it would translate going into an online space.
Well, remember, like The Division, it kind of also made me think of that a little bit in the way it's kind of set up, and I'm wondering maybe if they'll do it that sort of like you have that single player experience, but then you go to a zone to do your multiplayer. So you're still kind of technically always connected, but they have it separated.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
that would make sense.
Yeah,
I get that. But then, I mean, like a lot of the good shit would be in the DZ. I mean,
yeah. Well, because there's no way you're taking down that giant monster thing or whatever by yourself. Like, I doubt they would have you doing that.
Yeah, I mean, that's and the different types of suits that I saw. One looked alien in nature. The other one looked like War Machine. So I thought that was dope. So I mean, I can't wait to see what they do with it. It comes out next year. Check that out.
Yeah,
you said something about Assassin's Creed also.
Just real quick before we get out of here, Assassin's Creed. It looks maybe just having a year off. It does look a little better. It looks a little stronger, better showing. It's still Assassin's Creed, so it's still going to play a certain way. You're still climbing walls, and I'm not a big enough fan of the franchise to ask them to change that, or to even think that would be a good idea. But I don't know.
The Prince of Persia for it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. Did it do anything for you? Did it do anything for you just in general? Like, Assassin's Creed is. The combat looked fun. I mean, that was different, at least a little bit.
No, it did. There was
it didn't.
Yeah.
But I just don't feel like it's any dramatic change to make somebody really run out.
Right, but I almost wonder is there? Can you change the formula of Assassin's Creed without making it a different game? I mean, I don't know. It's.
I don't feel like I'm a big enough a fan to ask them. I don't know
right.
They should
right. Exactly. Right. Like I'm not entirely sure, but
I mean, it looks. I mean. I might get it just to see where the story goes.
Yeah,
I mean, I like the Egypt concept.
Right, people have been asking for Egypt for a while.
Yeah,
getting the pyramids.
I told you I got tired of Europe.
Yeah,
London. And,
right. Well, I mean, they need some place with architecture. So
So what about the Ming Dynasty? How about that?
I was like, well, I was gonna say next place is probably Japan, I guess, or China.
That'd be
though I don't know. Does China have a lot of high rise? I mean, they have a lot of high rise buildings to go off of.
I mean, they can always distort history and make houses taller.
Yeah,
they could do that. I mean, with Japan shit. I mean,
I mean, people have been asking for Japan for a while. So
like something like that should have some type of historical stuff.
Yeah. Now, if this one does well, we'll see a drastic departure. But they might, if this one does well and they do another series, they might center it around Egypt, that area, just to keep, kind of like the Ezio trilogy and everything. Just whoever the main character is, maybe they'll keep it kind of centered around that.
We'll see. I mean,
it looked good. I'm not.
It looked good. I'm just not.
Yeah, exactly. It looked good, but I don't know if it's enough to pull me in. But I mean,
more gameplay,
right? Exactly. More details.
It's still a ways away.
So real quick, we said we wouldn't keep you long. How you feel about the conference overall?
Overall, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a solid. Overall,
yeah.
Not my personal preferences on certain things. I'll give it a 7.
Yeah, I would say I would probably go 7.58. As an Xbox One owner, I was happy with it because I saw a lot of games that I would play. If I'm a prospective owner or looking to get the Xbox One X, I don't know if they hit the mark on that. But yeah, I think it's solid. It was solid. It wasn't terrible. They were filled with games. They didn't waste any time. They were games. A lot of the games were interesting. I personally don't get hung up on exclusives because as long as I can play it. Then I don't care what anyone else can or can't play. So yeah, I think 7.58 kind of area. Solid but not extraordinary.
I mean, way better than what they've done in years past. I mean, they were game focused, and they talked about the Scorpio pretty quickly.
Right.
I mean, it was nice. I mean, Phil Spencer came out, did his thing. A couple other guys from the Xbox group that came out. I don't know those guys, but they came out and it fleshed out what it does and what it can do.
Yeah.
They put all the rumors to rest. This is the console. This is the controllers. Guess what, guys? It's the same shit you've been using. Looks just like the same shit you've been using, only for a higher price. And I promise you, this is the best place to game. I might end up getting an X sometime next year. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's not a day one for me. If I get it, I mean, because that's the thing now.
Yeah.
I know, I'm not to say that money's not an issue for me, because it is. But but I don't want to come back to Xbox getting inferior hardware.
Right.
So that's been sold on to me.
Yeah.
As well. I mean,
right. If you're gonna get one, it's gonna be that one.
It would have to be. I mean, that would be whack. It'd be like, oh man, I'm gonna get an Xbox OG because I ain't got it. Well, I don't need to be gaming if I ain't got it. You know. So they got me on that.
Right.
If you're gonna get it, if you have a PS4 or a Switch and you're gonna have an Xbox, might as well just go ahead and cough out that $500. I mean, it seemed to be future proof anyway. Yeah. And it does hold true. You can't tell when you watch it on screens.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm sure them damn games look amazing in person.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure.
So, shout out to Xbox, man. Much love to everybody who did. Y'all did your thing. Can't wait to see more throughout E3, through other, developers. But, hey, man, we didn't say our names earlier.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
Got too caught up.
Yeah, I know. It's exciting.
This is your boy Hassan Hancock here, the comedian. You know what time it is. I got my boy Randy with me.
Hey, what's going on, man?
And I got a good friend in here hanging back. I ain't going to say his name because he private like that.
you might hear him on the mic.
You might hear
him coming in the background. But yeah, definitely. A good start to E3 with EA going and then Xbox. I'm excited for Bethesda's tonight. Then we got Sony tomorrow. I'm really interested to see what they bring. We got Days Gone, Detroit, but we'll get the hot takes on that after that. We're going back to our Friday scheduling after that. So we're going to round up everything on the next episode. So we're not going to do another episode for Sunday for Sony or another one for Nintendo. We're just going to group those guys in. Give you a full E3 recap.
Yeah.
So buckle in. We're gonna have some opinions for it.
Yeah, a lot of opinions. But hey, night, everybody. Keep safe. Peace out.
Peace.